Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another CinemaFolks news story thing. I gotta remember a name. I'm probably never gonna get a name for this, who knows? But um, yeah, man, we got some news stories to talk about, and mainly involving DC today. A lot of DC stories. But uh, I know some of you guys are probably wondering, are you going to be finishing out 2020 soon? Because now it's 2021. I have one more review that will be published. Not it was going to come out today on the 2nd, but now I'm going to change it to the 4th just so I can get time for this video. Um, but uh, and then I will be doing the best and the worst of 2020, and then what I'm excited to be seeing this year in particular. Um, yeah, so that's gonna be my last bits of 2020 videos, and then we'll be embracing 2021 as is. So hopefully it's a great year. Um, but let's just dive right into the news because there's some interesting topics, and then there's some topics that I'm just like I don't know why these are issues, but we'll get there. Um, all right, so first one right up top, the one that we addressed on the last episode, um, which I was going to do an update to for this episode, and that is, of course, the status of Wonder Woman 1984 in terms of the box office. And it looks like, as of today, worldwide it has now made over $100 million. Um, and well, let's address that first, and then we'll address the main story. As I said before, if it doesn't hit Tenet numbers, which I still don't think it will. It's promising to hear that it's now made over $100 million, but that's also taking into account that this is now its second weekend, and it's going to become stale. I mean, it's going to become stale in like the next, I would say, week, because general consensus for the film have been fairly mixed, I would say. I mean, some people really like it, some people really, really don't. Some people were kind of in the middle of it. I'm personally kind of in the middle of it still. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was great though. I have issues with it narratively speaking, um, but it is promising to see that it is making um, uh, the money that it is making. I just hope that it makes more than what Tenet made because again, I think that that's going to ultimately determine a lot of things, but it is still promising to see that it's made over $100 million, but I don't believe that it's going to hit Tenet's figure that it made. But we'll see. I mean, it could be. Who knows? We'll just see in the next couple weeks how that number increases. But the story that I want to address is we talked about last week, or yeah, in the last episode, that Wonder Woman 3 was officially greenlit. Well, it looks like they might, not sure yet, but it looks like that they might greenlight Wonder Woman 4 because Patty Jenkins has confirmed that she has already planned out Wonder Woman 4. There's no green light yet, so there's no, confirmation that they are moving forth with a fourth Wonder Woman film. But from what Patty Jenkins has said about the film, it sounds like, again, I'm not saying that it's the case, but at least, she says that this would be the last chapter. So in my head, that tells me that this looks like we're going to be getting a two-parter for the conclusion of this particular story. So the third one will be part one, and then the fourth one will be part two. And assumedly, Warner Brothers will make it greenlit. The only thing that has got me concerned, and I addressed it in the last episode when they announced Wonder Woman 3, was that I don't want Patty Jenkins to write it. I think her greatest strength is direction. I just don't think that a lot of the written choices that were made, I don't know if the ones that I personally didn't like were Patty Jenkins's choices, but if they were, I would like for her to still stick as a director or have someone else take further control in the screenwriting process because I just think that some of the narrative choices that 1984 made just didn't really, I wouldn't say necessarily destroyed my viewing, but really tampered with my viewing. I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. Um, So she is writing the third one. Again, I don't know how that will translate, but we'll see. Um, and assumedly, if they do a fourth film, which I have to imagine that they will, because considering that part three will be part one of this particular story, I assume that part four is already guaranteed to get greenlit. So, um, interesting move. I mean, I thought that there was going to be a trilogy because that I think the correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the Variety article that went out when they announced that Wonder Woman 3 had been greenlit, I thought that the statement was that WB was excited to continue on with their third chapter in the Wonder Woman trilogy, implying that that was going to be the last one. So that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Now, we've already known for quite a bit of time now that Wonder Woman 4 was something that Patty Jenkins had in mind. We saw that she already had ideas. She had said in interviews way before 1984 was even a thing that she already had planned out the third film. And now she's coming out saying that she's already planned out the fourth film. So, and apparently she's incorporating COVID-19 into the actual story with the third film. So I'm not sure how that would impact the fourth film, narratively speaking. But it's interesting to know that it will be a two-parter. I mean, I think it is almost guaranteed to get a green light the fourth film, and especially if it's written to be that way. I think that it'll definitely be given that green light. It's just only a matter of time of just when we will hear it. That is the question. But and also, I would say also the projections of Wonder Woman 1984, which again, they all consider the projections that were made recently with Wonder Woman 1984 to be a success. I don't see where you see that. I don't care that just because something was good in a particular era does not necessarily mean naturally that it's a good number, okay? Because I keep hearing everybody saying like, "Oh my God, these were great numbers." Well, yeah, if you look at it from a COVID era standpoint, but from just a regular box office take, these are not great numbers. I mean, Wonder Woman 1984 should have, pre-COVID, have made triple the amount that it made opening weekend. Like like it should have made a shit ton more than it did. But since we do live in this era, I mean, they are good numbers, but not enough to sustain a tentpole, which is what I keep saying about this whole HBO Max thing. And it's promising to see that it has surpassed the $100 million mark. It's just where we'll go from there that I'm more concerned with, because this movie needs to do better than Tenet to prove that tentpoles can work on streaming. Because if it's right there with Tenet, that's not great news. If it is better than Tenet, then that's a promising sign for future tentpoles in the streaming platforms, or operating with this hybrid release that they have going for them. At least that's just how I think, but we'll see. All right, moving on. Because that's pretty much all I can say about Wonder Woman 4. Because I mean, again, I didn't love it in 1984. I'm still interested to see the third film, and presumably this will more than likely get greenlit. So, yeah, I don't really have much to contribute to that story. All right, next one up, Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan. I like Michael B. Jordan a lot as a performer. I particularly liked him in Creed. I also liked him quite a bit in Black Panther. He is now going to be taking on his first effort as a director with Creed 3. This will be his directorial debut. He'll be directing Creed 3. Presumably it'll be the last of the Creed films. Tessa Thompson has confirmed this story and also confirmed that she will be returning for Creed 3, and that they may start filming in late 2021. So I have a few thoughts on this. The other thing that worth noting is that there's no confirmation yet if Sylvester Stallone will be returning as Rocky. We don't know yet. I assume that he would. But then again, considering how Creed 2 ended, I'm not sure. Kind of kind of 50 on that. But here's the thing about this. I think that I always love hearing when performers are starting to, get, because some performers, their first love was filmmaking. They wanted to be filmmakers. So I assume that Michael B. Jordan has had a love to be a filmmaker for some time, and he's had all, these years of a very, very acclaimed career, that he now gets the opportunity to direct something. My issue is that, and this happens with some filmmakers or some actors who choose to finally direct something or helm something. My issue is that I don't want this to be his first film. I think that he should do something much, much smaller, because there's way too much stress for him to get this right. An indie or something a lot more of a passion project. This will be a passion project for him, but there is a level of stress and a level of how do I say it? There's a standard that this movie has to meet, and for the studio, and I just don't want all that pressure on Michael B. Jordan. I really think that he should have done something smaller for his first directorial effort, but it's not, out of left field, or something completely out of the ordinary in the Rocky franchises for the main star to be directing or helming a bunch of their films. I mean, Sylvester Stallone's directed, I think, how many has he directed? Did he direct the second one? Let me fact check. I'm pretty sure, I know he directed a shit ton of them, but I just want to make sure. Did he direct the second one? Rocky 2. Did he direct the second one? He did direct the second one. Okay. And then he directed Rocky 3. Did he direct Rocky 4? He did. And then did he direct Rocky 5? I'm trying to remember. Or I think somebody else came in and directed Rocky 5. Maybe I'm thinking of Rocky 5. I'm not sure. Did he direct Rocky 5? I just need to check real quick. Yeah, someone else did direct. Yeah, that was the original director that came back to direct Rocky 5, and then Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, and then Creed obviously was Ryan Coogler, and then Creed 2 was Stephen Cable Jr. So it's not unheard of in the Rocky franchise, but the difference is that I think that Rocky was a film at the time that was not, it wasn't this big monster. I mean, yeah, it just came off of winning Best Picture that year, but I don't think that there was as too much pressure on that film. It wasn't considered a franchise. It wasn't considered something that was going to make money for the studio, or something that was going to be this absolutely cultural phenomenon. Like, no one anticipated Rocky to be that way, and that's why Sylvester Stallone had the advantage when he was first taking on duties with Rocky 2. And I have to say that Rocky 2 is actually a fairly good film. It's obviously not Rocky, but it's actually a solid sequel, I would say. A lot of people kind of throw that one under the bus for some reason, and then it gets progressively worse and worse and worse later on, and then it actually comes back with Creed. But I just, at this point in time with the Rocky franchise, everybody knows who Rocky is. Everybody knows who Apollo Creed is. It's just too much pressure for a first-time filmmaker, and I just don't want this to be his first film. I really don't want this to be his first film. But again, it's his choice. He gets to make what he wants. So if he wants to make this be his first directorial effort, sure. But I just don't think it's a great starting point. I think you need to progress to make a blockbuster, because this is considered a blockbuster, I would say, or considered a notable piece for a studio where they could potentially make big bucks. Because if I'm not mistaken, the first Creed did really, really well. Let me just fact check right now, because I remember the first Creed did really well at the box office. It was critically acclaimed, and Sylvester Stallone, he got an Oscar nomination. Like $35 million, and it made around $170. So yeah, pretty damn good success there. And then you get to the sequel, and I think it did okay. It was still fairly well received. A lot of people liked Creed 2. Um, yeah, it did even way better. It did 50 million. It made 214 million. So even though they're smaller budgeted films and the pull on them may not be like like monsters, it's still it's still uh, it still has its pull and still has its success. I'm just very afraid that Creed 3 might not get the pull that it can get because of possible um, maybe fatigue and maybe I don't want to say his directing is probably going to affect the product, but I am a little afraid as a first-time filmmaker that the craftsmanship put forth with Creed 3 is not going to be able to accumulate the success that the other two did, because that's what kept the other two at becoming financially successful, is that they were helmed well and that they were obviously acted well, um, and I'm just concerned that Michael B. Jordan is not going to be able to bring those qualities that he did in the first two films for both parties as a director and a performer. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned, and I'm assumedly a producer as well. So I'm a little concerned. I just don't know. I just don't like that this is his first film. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not big on this being his first film. I would have done a much smaller project, and was stuck with the acting duties with Creed 3 versus taking helm of the franchise, especially at the end. I think that's I don't know. I'm a little wishy-washy on this particular story, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm a bit nervous with him directing it. He's gonna act fine in it. I have no problem with him acting fine in it. I'm a little afraid though that his acting may be affected because of the stress that he is about to be put through with Creed 3. That's just me. And the overall product might be affected because I'm not sure how well handled he can um, uh, helm a project as big as this. So we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, hopefully there's no issues, but we'll see. But speaking of issues, let's talk about the Batman. Because I read the story today or yesterday, and made me kind of laugh because I'm surprised that this is considered an issue. So the Sun, not the Sun, the what is it? The outlet, the journalist publication that reported or broke the story of the Tom Cruise rant not too long ago. They broke the story, and which is that the Batman is apparently running into some on-set issues. To list what those issues are, apparently Robert Pattinson is apparently pretty jaded and being overworked. That's the quote that the Sun is reporting. And Matt Reeves is apparently extremely paranoid of COVID and is asking for many takes from the performers for small details, or for the smaller details that they're not presenting within each take that they're doing. Where's the issue? Because this is all good to hear. I mean, honestly, this is all great stuff to hear. Because my policy is, if you're not tired by the end of something, you probably didn't do much. If you feel like entering a coma, then you probably did do something. Now, obviously, quality-wise, we'll see, but the effort put forth will be translated if you feel that you have put forth effort. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go home and, like I said, if you feel like just dropping on your bed and just going to sleep, that tells me that you put forth some effort. If you're still spirited and still alive after doing the work on set, that tells me that you probably didn't do a lot of work. So this is all good to hear. I mean, yes, it's supposed to be fun. When you're on a set, it's supposed to be fun, but it's also a job. So you have to perform your duty to the best of your ability, especially when you're helming a project like the Batman. I mean, the Batman is supposed to be WB's next big it's their next big project. Um, so yeah, if I were Matt Reeves, yeah, I would want to make sure that I'm getting the best out of my performers possible. And if there is something small in the frame that I'm not loving, then yeah, I will redo the shot because I want to make sure everything's perfect, or at least perfect enough. And if the actors are gonna get jaded, dude, that's just the job. I mean, Kubrick is known for doing many, many, many takes, um, and you don't hear any people complaining about him, but it's just how the job is. You have to be willing to put in the hours. You have to be willing to keep going and going and going. You have to. Okay. Now, if he's overworking them in the sense that they have, they're going over their limit because obviously there's scheduling involved for each day. So like you work maybe like I don't know, like 8 to 9 hour day, and if you are working like I don't know 10 plus hours that particular day, let's say, then that's a little bit different. Then you have to cater and understand the health of the crew and the mental state as well. You can't, and also for scheduling purposes and for the studio who is paying you the money, you have to meet the schedule each day. You can't just go overboard. Um, I mean, there have been like some stories I've learned, like I remember Martin Scorsese when he was doing Taxi Driver. Apparently, I think he had like I don't know like 30 minutes or so, and the crew was like packing up, and one of the most iconic part of Taxi Driver was like done on the spot. The you talking to me, that scene with Robert De Niro, that was apparently like done on the spot, because they had like 30 minutes or something to get it done. You know, um, so there are cases where extra time is warranted, but in the vein of in the vein of working with a studio, you always have a schedule. You always have a certain amount of hours that you are allowed to work with. If you exceed that, you better have a good reason for it. And that's not the case though with the Batman. The reason why Robert Pattinson is jaded and apparently being overworked, as the Sun reports it, is because he's being asked to be doing many, many, many takes over and over and over again. To which I reply, I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, you should know that that's the case. You should know that that is how Matt Reeves likes to operate. I don't understand how that's an issue. I really don't know why that's an issue. If I was him, Robert Pattinson, and I was playing Batman, I would have no problem. I mean, yeah, I'd probably be tired, but I would have no problem with doing another take. If he believes I could do better, I have no problem with that. And also with Matt Reeves, if I see something in the frame that I'm not loving, the last thing that I want to do is keep my mouth shut about it. If we have the time for it, and it's something that is probably also you have to consider when filming. If it's something that cannot be done in reshoots, you have to get it right. I mean, you cannot let something fault or something just um, uh, uh, not meet the standard that you were wanting it to meet, because you didn't want overwork your actors. You have to be able to make sure that the stuff that absolutely needs to be done right here and now, you have to make sure it's done right, because very well what can be reshot later. The reshoots are minor. They should never be extreme. Like they shouldn't be reshooting like the whole film like Han Solo was. Like it should be pickup shots. Stuff that you probably didn't pick up in the principal photography, or things that you did pick up but you think can be redone and look better. Stuff that's feasible, stuff that's easy to get. If it's something that if Robert Pattinson is doing something that they cannot reshoot, I mean, there's a reason why they're probably asking him for many, many takes. And again, also as a storyteller, Matt Reeves, from what this article presents, is a bit of a perfectionist. And I have no problem with somebody who wants to make sure that they get everything right in the frame. Again, I referenced Kubrick. No one complained about Kubrick doing that stuff. I mean, some people will take issue with how Kubrick was being excessive with, each take, with notably The Shining, if you read up the history of it. But look at the results that you get though from that film. And from my understanding, he didn't break any like scheduling codes or anything. He kept it on schedule. He just kept repeatedly just doing the same take over and over and over again. It was like 50 plus takes, if I'm not mistaken, I think. So as long as he's meeting the code and as long as he's not causing the studio money, where's the harm in what Matt Reeves is doing? And also from a production standpoint, this is all good stuff to hear, because that tells me that Robert Pattinson's getting pushed to his limits, and we're going to get something out of him that's not on the surface. That's going to be something that's going to be a lot more rooted, and it's going to be something that's, we're going to see more to this performance because of direction like this. That's why I always push when I'm doing a short film. When I see my crew tired, I'm happy, because that tells me that they're actually putting in work. That tells me that they're actually caring about doing stuff. If they're just sitting around and doing nothing, that doesn't look good. But when they're tired at the end of the day, that tells me that they put forth effort. That tells me that they actually wanted to do something special. They wanted to contribute to the story, versus just playing on their phones or something, So yeah, there's nothing wrong with this at all. Nothing. I really see nothing wrong with the story at all. I mean, if you guys hear anything wrong about it, I mean, tell me your thoughts on it. But I see nothing wrong with this particular story. But speaking of Batman, let's transition into the second to last topic for today. This might be a shorter episode today, a little bit short. But we know that the Batman is coming out soon, and we'll be starting a brand new Batman franchise. Well, apparently, we might be getting two Batman franchises happening at the same time. According to Walter Hamada, which we will also be talking about later in a second, he had an interview with the New York Times, which he was talking about a lot of the DC announcements and a lot of the scheduling and a lot about the multiverse that is happening. We talked about it in the last episode. But one thing that I did not talk about that I thought was a rumor, which actually turned out to be true, is that they are looking to do two Batman franchises at the same time. Here is the quote. To make all the storylines work, DC Films will introduce movie audiences to a comics concept known as the multiverse. So he confirmed that there will be in fact a multiverse, parallel worlds where different versions of the same character exist simultaneously. Coming up, for instance, Warner Bros. Will have two different film sagas involving Batman, played by two different actors, running at the same time. So that's what Walter Hamada said at the New York Times. Now, it should be noted that, because everyone's immediately going to jump to the conclusion that, it's going to be Ben Affleck, because, he's coming back for Zack Snyder's Justice League and all. No, it is not the case. It is going to be a brand new actor for this new Batman franchise. It will not be Ben Affleck. I'm a bit torn on this story, because on one hand, it's exciting because, the fact that they are now committing to because they're using the term multiverse, but really what they're saying is that, listen, we're not going to do anything narratively speaking that brings all these stories together. We're just going to kind of do our own thing. We'll just do a story here, a story there, but we'll wrap it around the term multiverse just so we can connect the dots. If they're, just so there will be some form of tissue. But I do believe, though, the other side of my mind is telling me that I believe this is too soon. I believe this is too soon. I believe it's too fast, because we don't even have the first Batman franchise out yet. We don't even know how successful that is, or what the reception has been so far. I mean, I love the trailer. Don't get me wrong. I think that trailer was great. For the Batman that they released, I thought it was a great trailer. But I think that this is too soon. I think that this is very, very soon to be announcing something like this. And another part of me also believes that, depending on the future success of the Batman, this could possibly just not happen at all. You know, if the Batman flops, this could just all go away. If the Batman succeeds, I mean, we'll see. Um, they are doing stuff with the Batman though beyond the movies. I mean, they're doing a Gotham PD show, which is weird since they just finished Gotham, so it seems a little weird to be jumping to a new Gotham show already. But um, but I don't know. I think this is just a little too soon. I really believe this is too soon. I think that they should wait on how the Batman is perceived and how financially successful it is. Also, depending on how that movie's going to get released, considering how 2021 plays out. But um, yeah, I think it's a little too soon to be announcing another Batman franchise, especially one that's happening at the same time. I mean, I'm not sure how that's gonna do audience-wise, like seeing two different Batman at the same time, and how financially you know, uh, how that will do for both parties. I'm not certain on that end, but I just think this is a little too soon to be announcing. I just think it's a little too soon for Walter Hamada to be announcing another Batman franchise when we don't even have the other one yet. So that's just my little thoughts on that. I'm excited, don't get me wrong, I'm excited to hear that a new actor will be taking on Batman in a new franchise potentially, but I'm just concerned that that we're now coming full circle with DC with now announcing shit that may not even happen to begin with. Remember how DC played out for a long time? Like, oh, we're gonna do a Green Lantern movie. Maybe not. We're gonna do a Joker and Harley Quinn movie. Maybe not. We might do like just throwing stuff on the wall. Like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. We'll do a Deadshot movie. Remember when they announced that? We'll do a Deadshot movie. No. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think that we have seen this announcement before, and we have seen the results from it. So the same thing may happen again, but it depends very much so on how the Batman is perceived and how WB's direction changes over the next coming months. Because maybe they might just dump this idea. Who knows? But who knows? Who knows? And also we know that Michael Keaton's coming back for The Flash. So I mean, I'm not sure how that plays into these types of this new franchise. I'm not sure if it's they said multiverse. So, I mean, it's they're again they throw the term multiverse out there just because they're just like, we don't want to feel restrained to one particular actor or whatever this and that. We just want to do whatever type of story we want and get a new guy for to sell the movie. But yeah, I mean, it's promising, it's exciting, but very, very, very soon to be announcing this type of thing. So, speaking of Walter Hamada, let's get into our last topic for today, which is, of course, the ongoing battle or the ongoing drama involving Ray Fisher. Now, if you don't know, a little while ago, the investigation that was going on for the Justice League set drama that was going on, it apparently had concluded and was completed a few weeks ago, and they had confirmed that they would be taking some action against certain people. They didn't say who. And after the announcement that Walter Hamada made with the DC slate and with a lot of these films that are coming out and a lot about the new Batman franchise, Ray Fisher went onto Twitter to say this about Walter Hamada, which I will read to you right now. Quote, Walter Hamada is the most dangerous kind of enabler. He lies, and WBPR's failed September 4th hit piece sought to undermine the very real issues of the Justice League investigation. I will not participate in any production associated with him. Accountability greater than entertainment. So, yeah, so basically what Ray Fisher is saying is that if you want me, Walter Hamada will not be there, but it's kind of funny how these statements are being made, yet he just did reshoots for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and who do you think gave them the money to do the Snyder Cut in the first place? a little hypocritical, just a little bit. Um, but I mean, it's clear, very much clear that Ray Fisher does not like the higher ups, and of course Josh Whedon, and he is looking to clean house. Um, I mean, power to him, but um, it's a little hypocritical since you just did reshoots for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't want to hear it's because you love Zack Snyder and all that. A studio makes that possible. It's not just Zack Snyder. A studio gives the money, and who do you think gave him the money? So um, yeah. Um, my other thought process with hearing all these Ray Fisher tweets nowadays is not to be blunt about it, but um, who is really going to work with Ray Fisher after this is all settled? You know, because does a company really want themselves blasted on Twitter or on social media? I mean, I don't think so. Even if they're in the wrong. I mean, even if they obviously are in the wrong, they don't want their company blasted on Twitter. I mean, look at Tyrese Gibson with the Fast and Furious. Remember how he's just blasting The Rock and Vin Diesel on his Twitter and Instagram? Um, I'm surprised they kept him on for as long as they did. I mean, he's there, he's in Fast and Furious 9, and assumedly he'll be in 10 and 11. I'm surprised that they've kept him on. I would have kicked him out. I mean, after all those just ridiculous comments that he put on Instagram, and just social media in general, I would have fired him, honestly. Um, so it's a bit, it's not, honestly, it's not shocking to hear Ray Fisher say this. I mean, it really isn't, um, because he clearly does not like this company's higher ups at all. He loves Zack Snyder. I mean, he talks about Zack Snyder all the time and how much he loves him. Um, and again, I don't. That is his reason for reshooting Zack Snyder's Justice League. But who gave Zack Snyder the money to begin with to do said project? I don't want to hear independent companies and all that stuff. There's WB still had to put in the money in some capacity to do the Snyder Cut in the first place. So I find it a little hypocritical for you to say, like, I'm not going to participate in any productions. Um, However, I won't participate in any future DC projects except Zack Snyder's Justice League. Just that one other project though, just that one. Um, so yeah, I don't know how Ray Fisher's future as an actor will be, honestly. I mean, I'm not sure how if many people would want to work with him after all this. Um, just risking, you know, uh, a shitstorm to put it frank, um, on the press. I don't know if they want that, um, or not, but more power to Ray Fisher to sticking to his feelings and not remaining silent about it, and really looking to clean up some misconceptions and some to really shine a light on how the set was on Justice League, because it's clear. I mean, the set on Justice League was not a happy place. I mean, there was definitely issues with it. Definitely some verbal abuse that went down. Josh Whedon obviously had some stuff that happened. Um, so clearly there was stuff that happened, and we will never know really what it was. I mean, they'll probably maybe in like the next few years we might know some things, but right now we're not going to know anything about what happened on that Justice League set. Just we're really not. Um, but um, yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that except just keep on fighting the good fight, Ray Fisher. But just know that it's a little hypocritical since you just did reshoots, and this also has a pretty substantial blow to your career in general. You know, just I don't know how your future collaborations will be, but we'll see. We'll see in due time, I guess. Um, but that is pretty much it for today. A lot of DC topics. Michael B. Jordan directing Creed 3. You guys let me know about all these topics, and let me know your thoughts about just in general with how 2020 was for you guys. How did you guys feel about the year in 2020 for film? I thought it was a great year, to be honest. I thought before we leave, just to tell you my thoughts on 2020 in terms of film wise. I even though 2020 didn't have a lot of blockbusters to provide, it was still a very, very fresh year, and I still thought there was a lot of great films that came out. Particularly, I must say, for women. I thought last year was the year for women. I really, really believe so because, as you will see with my favorites of 2020, a lot of those films either starred women or were directed by female filmmakers. Um, and there is some really really incredible stuff that came out last year, and then of course some stinkers. But I do believe that females were the shining elements of 2020 in my particular opinion, and you will see in my list what I mean. So, but you guys let me know how you guys thought about 2020. Besides the COVID and all that stuff, let me know how you guys felt about 2020 in terms of film, and of course, how you guys are looking to move forward with 2021. What are your New Year's resolutions? Happy New Year, of course. And yeah, so my last review will be coming out. Let's see, today is the 1st when I'm recording this, and you guys will be getting this on the 2nd. So let's have the last review of 2020 be pushed for the 4th, because I already recorded it in 2020, my last review. And then I will move forth with the best and the worst of that year, and then what I'm looking forward to in 2021. So, yep, so that's it for this video. I will catch you guys in the next video, which will be my next movie review, and I'll catch you then. Stay safe, stay protected, stay healthy, social distancing, of course, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.